Is the Chinese Communist Party really this pathetic? That's the question I asked in my last video, and in that video, I discovered that the Chinese Communist Party is indeed pathetic. But what if I told you that the Chinese Communist Party are even more pathetic than I initially thought? Is that even possible? Well, let's find out. Hit it, Johnny!
中方坚决反对美方安排蔡英文过境窜美，坚决反对美国政府第3号人物众议长麦卡锡同蔡英文会见。
There is no place that China is going to tell me and where I can go or who I can speak to, whether you be foe or whether you be friend. I'm not the general manager of the Houston Rockets.
中方将采取坚决有力措施，坚定捍卫国家主权和领土完整。
大陆131军舰，这里是中华民国海巡署100多年广播。你现在已经严重破坏区域和平、稳定与安全，请你立刻转向离役。如果你继续前进，我将采取驱离措施。
So President Tsai concluded her stopover in the United States by heading to California to visit US Speaker McCarthy.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
McCarthy called Tsai a great friend to America. He also said that China cannot dictate who he can and can't meet up with. After all, he's not the general manager for the Houston Rockets.
You know, when you're misinformed or you're not educated about something, and I'm just talking about, the tweet itself, you never know the ramifications that can happen. We all seen what that did. Not only did for our league, but for all of us in America, for people in China as well. And sometimes you have to think through things that you say that may cause harm, not only for yourself, but for the majority of people.
It's the first time since 1979 that a high-ranking US official has met a Taiwanese president on US soil, but they did make a point of saying that the visit was unofficial. Now, of course, China threw a little hissy fit, threatening retaliation if Tsai met with McCarthy. It's the usual pathetic little tantrum of a spoilt brat that doesn't get their own way. China did this before when US Speaker Pelosi visited Taiwan last year, and now they're doing exactly the same thing again. It's this perpetual little tantrum from the CCP that never ever ends. So now let's for 1 second think about how childish, pathetic, and hypocritical the CCP really are. Think about it. It was okay for Xi Jinping to go and visit his main man Putin in Russia because they're allies, right? This was an official state visit from Xi, not just two pals hanging out, shooting the breeze. After all, China is selling weapons to Russia to help them with their unlawful invasion of Ukraine, and China and Russia have a no-limits partnership. But yeah, it's totally not cool for Tsai to visit America, right? Anyway, China are once again threatening Taiwan by doing their usual military drill and encircling the island. Check out this footage that shows a standoff between a Taiwanese and Chinese warship. Crazy. China are also making more and more incursions into Taiwanese airspace. But what's new? I mean, this happens all the time. And take a look at what the Chinese military are doing right now.
这次打击演练，我们完全依照实案组织，着眼提高火力快反和精准毁伤，全面检验武器装备实战运用中的新打法、新战法。
我们紧盯随时能战、准时发射、有效毁伤核心能力标准，弹在架上，蓄势待发，有信心、有底气应对各种复杂困难局面，坚决完成作战任务，坚决挫败任何形式的外部势力和台独分裂企图。
Sorry, China, but this is funny as fuck. You're about as scary as that wonderful little cartoon character. Let me jog my memory. What's that guy's name again? Oh yeah, that's right, Winnie the Pooh. Okay, you are scary, China. Please don't get me. But you're also pathetic at the same time as being scary. And it gets even more pathetic, if you can believe it. Do you remember in my previous video I spoke about how stingy the Chinese Communist Party were when they paid protesters a measly $200 to protest outside Tsai Ing-wen's hotel? And I also came to the conclusion that this wasn't exactly shocking news because China has done this kind of thing before, right? Well, guess what? They've done it again. Only this time, they paid the protesters in California $400. Why do CCP protesters in California get paid more than the protesters in New York? I guess the CCP realized that if they stop being such cheapskates and shell out a bit more cash, then more people will actually show up for their lame-ass protest. Check out this screenshot from a WeChat group that called on its members to take part in a paid protest against Tsai for $400, and it shows that the CCP supporters are only patriotic when there's a financial incentive. And I tell you what, guys, if you want me to preach the evil narrative of an evil, awful, authoritarian regime, then you better give me a little bit more than $400. It's pathetic. One of the poor protesters at the New York protest that probably only got paid $200 was Sam Bismuth. Do you remember him from my last video?
There's truly no separate real country of Taiwan. It is an artificial division which the West, which our leaders are trying to create, and I reject this as an American.
He was one of the American protesters on the side of the CCP that was interviewed on Chinese state propaganda channel CCTV. CCTV? Closed circuit television? I guess that's an appropriate name for the channel. Anyway, I initially thought that he might have just been some random student who showed up and got paid his $200 and didn't even care about the cause, but it turns out that Sam Bismuth is all in on that CCP propaganda. From what I can see, he's a little bit of a Marxist and part of a political group called the Center for Political Innovation. Ooh. He has his own YouTube channel, and just look at those wonderful red communist stars all over his channel banner. It's magnificent. His channel has videos titled Protesting the Victims of the Communism Museum and Taiwan is not Ukraine, and another one called Bismuth appears on Chinese state media like he's proud of it. That's nothing to be proud of, mate. And in the comments section for that video, he denies getting paid by the CCP to protest Tsai's visit. Anyway, Sam is clearly a very rebellious young chappie, and I can totally dig that, man. He's found communism and is a little voice against those horrible capitalists. I mean, who hasn't had their rebellious student phase? Look at me when I was a student. I had rebel written all over me. And look at what I'm wearing right now. It's a Dead Kennedys t-shirt. So obviously, I'm not exactly a huge fan of capitalism and those huge greedy corporations either. There's these big governments that are trying to control the masses, and it's not cool, which is why I can't stand the CCP. And whoever thinks that all governments have our best interests at heart would be incredibly naive. So why not rebel against that, right? But I definitely know that the Chinese government is not a better alternative to what I have right now. It's not even close. Anyway, it's perfectly normal to question your own government, right, and put them to task. But when rebelling against his government, Sam has decided to team up with tyranny. And this is where I think that Sam has kind of lost the plot just a little bit. It's one thing being against your government and finding faults with them. I mean, all governments should be held accountable for the bad decisions and mistakes that they make. But come off it, mate. Propping up an awful government that doesn't allow its own people basic freedoms? That's just absolute madness. It's all well and good to be sympathetic towards the CCP from the safety of your nice, warm Western life, where the only communism you know about is the crap that you read up on in books or websites. But if you had to live the life that the poor average Chinese person does, you'd be pissing in your pants and running home to mummy at the first chance you get, because you wouldn't want to give up that comfortable Western lifestyle that you've always had. By protesting for the CCP in New York, Sam is taking part in a protest for a government that doesn't allow protests on its own soil. China is one of the least free countries on this planet, and Sam would be arrested or possibly executed if he was doing what he is doing as a Chinese person on Chinese soil protesting against the government. Sam seems to be a little bit delusional and under the impression that all of the terrible things that he reads about the Chinese government doing has been made up or exaggerated by Western media. Now, I say Western media in inverted commas because it's not only media from the West that criticizes China, but media from all over the world. And Sam seems to think that the Tiananmen Square massacre didn't happen, or that the genocide happening in Western China isn't a thing, even though there's so much evidence available to prove that these things did happen and are still happening right now. I mean, has he ever read the Xinjiang police files? These files contain harrowing accounts and evidence of the systematic eradication of the Uyghurs culture that paints a completely different picture than the CCP's bullshit narrative. And didn't the CCP even try to deny that these prison camps existed? And then when the evidence came out that these horrible places exist, the CCP suddenly changed their story and said that they were just re-education centers for naughty little Uyghurs. Oh my god, it's terrible. So why the hell, after all of this, would you believe anything the Chinese government says? But Sam seems to have bought the narrative, hook, line and sinker. He's probably one of these people that thinks that banning TikTok is a violation of his freedom, but then he totally supports the CCP and its banning of every single app that they feel like, which is almost everything that's not a Chinese app. And I'm sure Sam would say that these apps were banned by the CCP to protect them from Western imperialists. But he still uses all of those apps on his own phone, so why the hell can't the Chinese people use them? It's a joke. By the way, I don't think TikTok should be banned, but I do think that it should come with a warning. Maybe something saying that this is owned by the Chinese government and be careful because they could do lots of crazy things with your data. Maybe age restricted, something like that, I have no idea. But what I don't believe in is governments acting like our parents and telling us what we can and can't download on our phones, what we can watch, what media we consume. I totally don't agree with that. And apparently, neither does Sam. So he doesn't believe the news about China from Western media, news that has been backed up with evidence, but he will believe Russian state media. That's right, you heard what I said, Russian state fucking media. It seems Sam is best mates with this guy, Caleb Maupin, however the hell you pronounce it, but I might rename this guy Caleb Maupin because he seems to have a special place in his heart for evil communist dictators. Anyway, Caleb is a so-called journalist for Russia Today, Russian state propaganda, and apparently good old Caleb has been included in a list of personalities who Kyiv believes are promoting the Kremlin line. And it really doesn't surprise me after seeing his shining bio from his Russia Today profile. Oh my god. So in this video, we can see Sam and Caleb doing their little thing together for the poor working class people. And check out the massive crowd that they've gathered around them. Wow, they're so popular. So many people want to join their little cause. Oh, and here's another amazing clip of one of their meetings for their little center for political innovation. Look, there's Sam right now, holding hands with another dude carrying a communist flag. We can also see a North Korean flag and a Chinese flag there. And look, there's Caleb. What the hell is he doing? He's fist pumping up and down frantically, giving it stacks in front of a Russian Z symbol. What the fuck, dude? Are we for real here? Oh my god, I just wonder what he does to this Z symbol in the privacy of his own room. This little dictator's fan club meeting of theirs looks absolutely mental.
Dare to win!
Dare to struggle.
Dare to win!
Let's get sexy!
Dare to win!
And here's another clip of our little dictator fanboys Sam and Caleb together again, protesting against Tsai's visit to New York.
No more provocations against China. China is not our enemy. 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 Get out of our country. Stop trying to sell war in our country. Stop trying to sell war in our country. We don't want a new war with China. We love America and we don't want a new war with China. China is not our enemy. Stop trying to sell war. Get out of our country. Stop trying to sell war. China is not our enemy.
Listen to Caleb go wild at Tsai Ing-wen, shouting like a man possessed into that megaphone.
Get out of our country. Stop trying to sell war. China is not our enemy. I'm a patriotic American. I love my country and I don't want World War III.
Apparently, he's a patriotic American who loves his country, but he works for Russian state media and goes absolutely apeshit when he sees a Russian Z symbol. Okay then, patriotic as hell, right? All of his talking points sound very similar to what the Chinese government says about America, such as railroads falling apart, water not being purified, and power grids failing. That sounds kind of familiar. Aren't these the things that are happening in China right now? Anyway, these are all serious problems, by the way, but I don't think Caleb, Sam, and his little group of misfits are gonna solve these problems anytime soon if they want to go the same way as China and Russia have. They're just parroted Russian and Chinese state propaganda with one purpose: to make sure that the rest of the world falls in line with their demented philosophy. The CCP and Russia don't give a shit about people like Caleb and Sam, but they will use them as much as they can to push their bullshit narratives. And the finale, the final nail in the coffin for me regarding these guys, is that they were actually pushed by none other than Chinese government's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Hua Chunying. You can always tell that something is a little bit fishy when Chinese state officials boost some random foreigner who apparently has the same talking points that they do. You know, the usual America bad and China good narrative, which I've seen countless times with the CCP shills who get boosted by the Chinese government because they made a I love China video and isn't the CCP great? Anyway, apparently, according to Hua Chunying, Caleb here is the true voice of the American people. Yeah, more like the true voice of Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. She really tried her ass off to make it appear like Caleb was just some random protester who represented the average American. Does she seriously think that we're all this dumb? When you actually look at guys like Caleb and Sam, you can see who they align themselves with, and it's not a stretch to think that they might be partial to doing a little bit of CCP propaganda alongside their regular Russian propaganda gig. Oh, And China and Russia working together, eh? Who would have thought it? It's as if the planets have aligned. So there you have it, folks. The CCP are even more pathetic than I initially thought. I wonder if they can get any more pathetic than this. Tune in next time to find out. And stay strong, Taiwan.
那我们人虽然在美国，但是我们心在台湾，支持台湾。